Welcome back to the Middle of the Week, North Texas. I'm your Ivory host, Robert C., and with me is Zach Seminar and Kara Bullock. Over the weekend, North Texas took on Nicole State, and by take on, I mean oppressed with tyrannical force. Guys, can the efficiency, this new quarterback play, will it stand up throughout the rest of the season?
Well, I don't think that this game is going to show us how good North Texas is. I mean, it's Nicholls State. I mean, they lost to Division II Henderson State just a week before that. This program's in shambles, and I don't think it was a good measuring stick. But I think that the quarterback switch of Dejon Williams is going to help North Texas. It's obviously will. I mean, with Josh Greer, with Andrew McNulty, neither of them could throw a 5-yard out. As Coach McCarney was very, very frustrated. 0 touchdown passes through 3 games. That says enough right there.
I think he's right in some ways because we didn't play anybody who was, we weren't playing a, Big 12 school or anything like that.
Sure.
But, I think this team is extremely motivated. I mean, they have a new quarterback who's completed 11 of 14 of his passes, 3 touchdowns, and he's a double threat. I mean, he ran for, 68 yards with 2 touchdowns. So I think this team is just really motivated. I think they're ready to play.
I think you touched on it. I think that it's going to bring something else to the other players, because if I'm Darvin Kidsey, if I'm Carlos Harris, if I'm Darius Terrell, I mean, I'm much more confident now because I know that I got a guy who's going to get me the football. And Josh Greer and Andrew McNulty, those guys, or those quarterbacks weren't able to get them the football. Now they got a guy that can actually get them the football. They got to come into games feeling that they can actually help out this North Texas team.
I think everybody's a little more heads up when you know that anything can happen on any play with such a dynamic player such as Dejon. And as far as playing Nicholls State, I mean, this is what a good team is supposed to do to a team like Nicholls State. I think we can agree.
I think that Coach McCarney making this decision to put Dejon Williams as his starting quarterback is probably going to be the best decision he's ever made in his life from here on out. And he said during the game, we had touchdowns on all sides of the ball. Special teams, defense, offense, obviously.
All 3 phases.
Yeah. And Coach McCarney says he wants more of that. He said, if you have a chance to make a difference in the game, then take that chance and do it. So I think we'll see more of that, honestly.
How do y'all feel looking ahead? Indiana, they beat Missouri, and they have a running back. I think his name's Tevin Coleman. He averages 8.6 on the season per carry. I mean, you saw what the La Tech running back did to us. I mean, we got to keep this guy under wraps.
Yeah, I think I kind of mentioned it. Don't expect what North Texas did to Nicholls, what you can expect throughout the rest of the season. I mean, Indiana is not a one-dimensional team. They can throw it, they can run it. They have Nate Sudfeld, one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in the Big Ten that nobody knows about. And when he's throwing to Shane Wynn, a big play receiver down the field. And you mentioned Tavon Coleman. He has not rushed for fewer than 130 yards in a single game this season. Of course, he pads his stats against Indiana State to open up the season, but this is a team that I think could be dangerous in the Big Ten. I think North Texas is going to have a lot of trouble. I think they'll be able to score with them, but because of Indiana's defense is not very good, hasn't been in many years, but will they be able to win the game? No.
Oh. Kara, think we're going to win?
Well, I think it's up in the air. I mean, you have this crazy pattern of games that has happened. You have Indiana that lost to Bowling Green last week, or the week before last, and then Bowling Green lost to Wisconsin horribly. So coming off of both teams coming off of a pretty major wins, I think it's going to be a tough one for both of them. I think it'll be back and forth the entire game.
So despite a potential Indiana loss, do you think potential of being maybe in the top 25 if they were to win out after that, or do you see that even as a possibility?
That's not even a possibility right now. I mean, we have to be realistic with North Texas. I love my mean green, don't get me wrong, but we're talking about going into the Quarry at Indiana in Bloomington. That is no tough test. Those guys are crazy up there in Bloomington.
Never been, I've never, so I wouldn't know. But, no, okay, let's talk just for a few seconds about fantasy football. Who should we, name 2 people on your list that we should start this week?
Oh, Kirk Cousins. And I'm totally for it because I'm a Redskins fan, and I think he came in and he did damage. Even though we lost, he still did really good for fantasy owners.
Zach?
I like Kirk Cousins. You can't argue with him. I want to throw out Drew Stanton. for Arizona. But my guy's Geno Smith, and then when you look at Geno Smith, you like the dual threat quarterbacks. You like a guy who can run. You like a guy who can throw. Doesn't mean the New York Jets are gonna win 9-10 games this year. They don't need to. We're talking about fantasy football here. I can see you making a face.
So a bunch of backup quarterbacks. Then we have a lot of confidence in this week. Drew Stanton, Kirk Cousins.
I mean, Geno Smith isn't a backup quarterback, and
Sure.
when you look at the points, listen to this. He has more fantasy points than Tony Romo and Tom Brady. He's comparable. He only has 3 fewer fantasy points than a guy like Matt Stafford, only 4 fewer than a guy like Aaron Rodgers.
Interesting point. Well, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about college football and the Ron Washington fiasco and who might be the next Rangers manager. Be right back. Welcome back to SportsZone. I'm your host, Robert C. With me is Saad Youssef and Anthony Piekarski. Today we're going to talk about college football, which again was shaken up, which is becoming redundant to even say, because every weekend it happens. I think the SEC looked a little vulnerable. How about you guys as far as the top playoff 4?
Well, I'm excited about the format that's coming in. I mean, it's something we've never seen before. It's just, everyone used to say, oh, the NCAA is rigged and whatnot. Now we have a chance to actually see the playoff system.
What teams you got?
I've got, I mean, if you look at the top 5 now, you got Florida State, Oregon, Oklahoma, Alabama, and Auburn, top 5. I'm going to switch it around a little bit. I'm going to keep Florida State, Oregon, Oklahoma, top 3. I based it off the scheduling. Florida State, they're going to face Notre Dame. I just don't see Notre Dame as a threat to Florida State. Just personal opinion. I've visited Notre Dame. I've gone to a couple games. They're a good team. Florida State, Jameis Winston, Heisman winner.
So just a reordering of what's already there, basically. So
I think with my number 14 is OU, and number 3 FSU, Florida State, and number 2 is Alabama, and number 1 Oregon, because in my mind Oregon has the Heisman winner, basically. In my mind, the quarterback, they have the best quarterback in football. Florida State, they showed a little bit of poise, beating Clemson. But I think that was more Clemson losing the game than Florida State winning the game. But Sam McGuire fared pretty well. And OU is just, Samaje Perine is just amazing. And he's been lighting it up. And with Alabama, I thought Blake Sims was going to be a game manager, and I stand by that. But with Amari Cooper showing up, I think he's going to help the cause a lot. And obviously, you can never count on the Nick Saban defense. So
you still hold a lot of confidence for SEC that looked a little vulnerable after the weekend.
Yeah, and I have a lot more hope for Texas A&M as well. It's just I don't know what Kenny Hill is going to do when teams get film on him, when he plays better competition, because he's about to go against number 10 Ole Miss, number 3 Alabama, number 5 Auburn, number 18 Missouri, number 8 LSU. He's about to go against all these good teams, so I want to see what he does when Nick Saban has film on how to defend him, because I'm not sold by that first game, what he did against Berger's defense.
You completely sold on Alabama despite them, kind of faltering against West Virginia.
Yeah, I am, because they have a triple-headed monster running back with T.J. Yeldon, Kenyon Drake, and Derrick Henry, and then Amari Cooper is emerging, and Blake Sims and Nick Saban defense. So.
I agree with 3 or 4 picks with Oregon, Oklahoma, Florida State. I'm not sold on Alabama. I'm going to believe the hype, and I'm going with A&M. Just because you look at the scheduling for everybody, like in the SEC, they're all going to play each other. LSU, Ole Miss, Alabama, Auburn. You're going to play all.
A&M doesn't have Speedy Noyle right now.
That is true,
so,
but I mean, these other SEC teams are going to knock each other around.
And A&M is included in the SEC.
Yeah,
so they're going to get knocked around.
They're going to get knocked around.
Okay.
Yeah.
One thing we can agree on is there's a lot of fun coming our way in the coming weeks.
Definitely.
To watch people beat up on each other. Now, the Rangers have been winning lately, right? Am I right?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So, anyways, we're going to have a question of who's going to be the next manager. And I think the easy guess would maybe be Bogart, because he's having a team that couldn't win throughout the season suddenly win. Anthony, I know you agree, but Saad, who do you think?
I got Dusty Baker, because I think the way the team is structured right now, you have Prince Fielder coming back, you have Shin-Soo Choo coming back, you have Beltre coming back, Darvish is coming back, Matt Harrison is coming back, Martin Perez, Mitch Moreland, all these guys that are coming back, it's a win-now situation. Tim Bogart, he has this 5-game streak going on. It's all good, but I mean, I don't think he's proven over time to be that manager that I think Dusty Baker can be, and Dusty Baker is 3-time Manager of the Year. So I think Dusty Baker is a more proven candidate and is more suitable for this team and brings a lot of what Ron Washington did to this team.
That was actually my personal opinion choice. I love Dusty Baker, watched him since I was a kid, but I think he's getting on the older side a little bit. He's 67, 68.
He's 65, but right, yeah, he is 60. He's 65 years old. But I mean, Ron Washington wasn't exactly the youngest guy in the world either. So I think the transition.
Why not Bogart?
Because I think it'd be a transition.
Okay.
I think with Dusty Baker, there's not as much of a transition. You're going from a similar guy to Ron Washington in a win now situation, a proven guy who was actually in the World Series not too long ago and blew a World Series back in 2002 when he was with the Giants. So I think he has the credentials to get up there.
But John Daniels loves taking risks. You've seen
John Daniels also yesterday just said that he's not going to commit to Bogart even after this nice little win streak that he's put on. But I don't think Bogart is suitable for this team. I think he's capable, but not for this team.
So because you mentioned all the veterans that are coming back, do we ignore the progress of so many young players and the potential camaraderie he's built with Bogart and the institution that's already there?
No, you don't. But you look at the upside right now. You can't ignore the fact that you brought Prince Fielder in here to win a World Series now. This isn't a little developmental project with the Texas Rangers. They need to win right now. And the manager that provides that right now is Dusty Baker over Tim Bogart.
Well, they've claimed that they're going to announce a manager in October, so we should be find out in the midst of the playoffs, next couple of weeks. Next up, we're bringing on Whitley and some other guests to talk about more sports. Surprise. We'll be right back.
Hello and welcome back to SportsZone. I'm your host, Whitley Pleasant, and here with me today I have Tori and Brady. So guys, we're going to jump right into this next topic, which is the Cowboys win. So guys, what would you like to see more going forward?
For me, I'm still not sold on the Cowboys so far. I really don't even know what type of team we are yet. You saw them struggle against the 49ers like you thought they would. See them beat Jake Locker, which is no big task. And I just saw them give up 3 touchdowns to a third-string Rams quarterback in Austin Davis, which I think is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And with the Saints coming into town this weekend and Seahawks coming in 2-3 weeks from now, I just don't see how we're even going to compete with the league's best if we can barely keep up with someone who wasn't even drafted.
The Saints are down. They're not playing the best right now, but it's our secondary's got to step up. Morris Claiborne was absolutely awful. He allowed 108 yards against like a third-string quarterback and a receiving core that's not even that great.
Also got an interception.
Okay.
The game winner.
I mean, that was a bad throw.
Too late.
Yeah, it's too little, too late. They weren't. I mean, you can't depend on Austin Davis to drive and make it. He probably wasn't going to score anyway. So I'm not going to go on speculation there. But it's a secondary, and him getting replaced by Orlando Scandrick was a really good decision by Jerry Jones. One of his only good decisions, because I'm sure he's the one who told Jason Garrett to make the decision anyway. And him saying that he's not worth the sixth pick in the draft, I'm okay with that too. He is not playing to his potential, and he needs to step up. But this week against the Saints, we'll have Spencer's coming back, Durant's coming back, McLean's coming back. We should be fighting against the run. We just have to step up in the secondary. Hopefully Orlando Scandrick is our answer.
And if not, then what?
And if not, Drew Brees will have a field day, which he is capable of doing because he's Drew Brees.
I think Drew Brees is going to have a field day regardless. We're not ready for Saints offense at all. I see another
We weren't ready for it last year. We lost about, I don't even know how much. It was bad, though, last year.
Yeah, we weren't ready for it last year, and that's when we had DeMarcus Ware and Sean Lee, and we don't have those two now. And I just think it's going to be another blowout.
So it seems like you're leaning more towards we have no chance.
But our defense has played better than a lot of people I thought they were going to. I will give them that. They have Rolando McClain has really stepped up the 2 games he played when he was a hurt.
I mean, it's not much to brag about. We haven't really beaten anyone yet.
Well, we're 2-1. Okay, the record is all. It don't matter who we beat. If the record.
Oh, it don't matter in the playoffs.
Are you sure it doesn't matter who we beat?
We're 2-1. The record is what gets you in the playoffs.
We probably are the worst 2-1
And the
team of all
NFC
time.
East is not even
Probably.
that great. So the NFC East is that great. The NFC East is, for lack of a better word, just really weak. And yes, I mean they have the Eagles, but
Another thing
Still
I'll
not
add
sold
is
on
I
them
would
yet.
like to see our pass protection for Romo get better. We did prevent him from getting sacked last game, but he was pressured a lot, and we saw what the big difference was in our offensive spark after we got some protection on him in the second half, and we were actually able to score points.
DeMarco Murray is a quit fumbling the ball.
Do you guys think that this is going to be a constant trend? Because right now it has been every single game that he has fumbled the ball, but it feels like he has to come back, and which he does, but still.
I mean, he's I don't know if he was first team or he's second. He's top 3 in the league in rushing.
He's number 1 in the league in rushing.
He's number 1. He's still number 1.
Yards.
So he's apparently putting up the numbers, but when you fumble the ball and we lose the fumble, and then you're hurting us. But
teams like Seattle are going to capitalize.
Yes,
on that.
exactly. Yes,
So
they will capitalize.
Mistakes
they will
like
not.
those need to be cleaned up right
Yep.
now.
Well, the reason why I think he's fumbling so much is because people aren't afraid to stack the box because they're not afraid of our offensive line at all. So when people are afraid of our offensive line, they do respect our pass protection. They won't be 7 or 8 in the box.
And our offensive line is not playing their potential either. They were supposed to be one of the best in the league, and Romo's been sacked 7 times in 3 games.
So they're getting better. They're a young.
Yeah.
They're a young team. Their tackle, center, and right guard were all picked in the last few years, and I think they're getting better every year. But
Yeah,
they're just
well,
not
they have the
ready yet.
potential.
With the Cowboys, guys, you just never really know. So, moving on, there is a college football player who seems to not stay out of the news lately. I think you guys know what I'm talking about for the cornerback James Winston. He seems to always be in the media. Do you guys think that the punishments are either too harsh or not harsh enough?
Not harsh enough. This isn't the first time he's done something off the field ridiculous and moronic. He just can't seem to be a civilized human being for whatever reason. I mean, he was sitting there yelling at girls. I'm not going to say what he was saying, but he was yelling at girls in the student union and making a fool of himself. He should have been 2 or 3 games,
What about
at
you,
least.
George?
At first, I didn't like the punishment, but now, after seeing the game, after seeing him cheer on his teammates, after seeing him focus on the game, and being McGuire's ear the whole time, giving him tips, and just being the #1 FSU cheerleader that day, and after seeing him sprint down the sideline after they scored a touchdown towards the end of the game, I think we really saw him realize that his team was better than he thought he was, than he thought they were, and they can actually win without him. So him coming back, him having that confidence in his
They
team,
can barely
I think they'll be
win
able to
without
win
him.
out.
Barely
Okay,
win without him.
we're going to have
They
to
beat
get back on
Clemson,
this
right
subject
team.
again.
Clemson
You
is a
guys
good
off,
team.
Brady. I'm going to have to cut you off, Brady. We'll get back to that. But coming up next, we are going to talk about Roger Goodell's news conference. You won't want to miss it.
Hi, welcome back to SportsZone. I'm Robert C., and I'm here with Saad, Zach, and the artist formerly known as Brady. Over the weekend, we had a press conference by Roger Goodell. People were awaiting it, and he did put some words together that created sentences. Was there any substance? Zach?
I don't think there was a whole lot of substance, but did we really expect there to be any substance from Roger Goodell? I mean, it was almost kind of Dr. Philish up there. That's kind of what it was. I think he kind of took a week or a week and a half to kind of put some thoughts together and put some stuff together, and he avoided a lot of questions and answered them the way that a lot of people wouldn't have wanted them to. But to be honest, I didn't expect to hear anything different. The only beef that I really have about the whole situation is I really expected him to find himself or to make some type of contribution to some type of charity, maybe $1 million or $2 million. And I mean, the guy makes $40+ million a year. He could have easily done that.
It's just like there's no substance. He beat around the bush the entire 45 minutes of just kind of talking about
43.
Okay, about how just he was just gonna do something. How are you going to do something? What are you going to change in the conduct policy? What are you going to change in the programs the NFL has in store? Are you going to make domestic violence programs for players that are having rough home lives or with their wives or something like that? How are you going to do something? Don't tell us what you're going to do. We want to know how you're going to do it, specific reasons, and he told us none of those things at all.
Yeah, I agree. It was absolutely putrid. It was absolutely pathetic. It was pretty much a waste of the time because all he did was say, "As I said in my statement," "As I said in my statement." That's all he was saying the whole time. But like Zach said, I don't think there was anything more that we could expect. He's not the head honcho like people think. He does have bosses over him. The 32 owners are his bosses. He does have a PR guy that probably scripted everything for him. So, again, I'm not surprised, but I mean, the only thing that kept me in tune the whole time was the Howard Stern guy coming on. I mean, I thought that was pretty entertaining. But other than that, as far as the speech goes, it was pretty pathetic.
Yeah, it really reminds me of just general politics. I mean, you have like the president make a speech and everybody wants to get on him, but if you look at it, local politics would be your more closely governing body. I think the outrage should maybe be more with the teams, not so much Roger Goodell.
Well, and then Bisciotti had his little press conference,
yes,
and so I mean, he was a little bit more revealing, but again, he can be more revealing. Goodell has so much that he can do. His job is also in question. So.
Yeah, so what can Goodell do? I mean, you say committees, but I mean, how
Okay.
much? Usually that happens, they
He
send him to a
speak-
program after the incident happens,
Yeah,
so how do
he
you get behind
speaks
it?
of change in the conduct, in the player personal conduct policy. We want to know how you're going to do it, because there's a fine line between telling a player what he can do in his home, in his personal home with his family. Because there is a fine line. No matter, I mean, I'm not condoning hitting women or beating your child, but there is a fine line between that. I want to see how he's going to deliver out punishments, how he's going to change domestic violence in that policy, because it is a very fine line to do before players start saying, how are you going to tell me what I can and can't do inside my own home? With
Well,
my
he can
family?
start out with by saying, Ray Rice, don't hit your woman in a casino. I mean,
Well, I just like she came out and said, this is our personal life, and we shouldn't have the NFL getting involved in our personal affairs.
I mean, I think you want to know why and how and all these other things, and I think let's be realistic here. I mean, he's forming these committees, he's forming these groups, he's hiring these people. He does not know yet. I mean, when he knows, we'll find out. It's as simple as that. I mean, he wants to get it done. He wants to do it the right way. Was the press conference as good as we wanted to be? No, it wasn't as good as what we wanted. We didn't get all the answers. We're not going to get all the answers. We probably don't deserve all the answers right now.
I think we'll get all the answers once this Mueller report comes out, or as many answers as we're potentially going
Hey,
to get,
I
because
like-
Goodell's hands off on that.
I like how a TMZ reporter during the press conference embarrassed Roger Goodell, saying that all they had was a phone, like in handling the Ray Rice video, all they got was one phone call and saying that's how we knew about the video. And the NFL has an entire legal department. How could they have not known about the video, like right when it came out, right when it happened? How could they have not known when they have an entire legal department and TMZ just got one phone call?
Well, I'm sure it's willful ignorance. I'm sure, I know that they must have been, I don't know it, but people probably did know about it. And it's like, hey, don't tell the big guy, because then it's, guilty by, he willful ignorance, if you will. And I'd like to go with what Zach says. It's like, all he can do is put people in certain positions, and then hopefully it changes things throughout the future. So we didn't really find anything out. We're not really sure if Goodell really knows anything.
I think Mueller will find out more.
Well, I hope so, but then again, the overseers of that are NFL owners, and Goodell works for them. Goodell is basically
Goodell's hands
scapegoat.
off. It's an independent investigation. So.
I feel like, yeah, I know what you're saying. Well, that's all the time we have this week for SportsZone. I'm your host, Robert C. Thanks, guys.